Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again?
911, what's your emergency?
The Fantastic Four First Steps is the third iteration of the Fantastic Four characters, this time around integrated into the MCU but set on their own separate planet. One with a retro-futuristic vibe, we follow our heroes when one day a being from space known as the Silver Surfer lets them know their planet has been marked for death. From here, our heroes must spend every waking moment left trying to figure out how to stop Galactus. And that's all. Pretty much any spoilers to you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. Another Fantastic Four iteration. It is crazy to me that this is the third time they've been rebooted, but even more crazy that they just haven't seemed to nail down how to do these characters. My editor is currently working on a review of the early Fantastic Four movies that have previously come out, but I will say I've never really hated the early 2000 Fantastic Four films. I always thought those were very enjoyable, but I was so surprised they get really bashed online. And after Disney bought out Fox, I was for sure like, oh dude, great, I want to see the Fantastic Four in the MCU, and caught me by surprise when they're like, well, they're in their own Earth. I'm like, what? 3 reboots and we can't have them part of a connected team? But we all know Marvel had a plan, and once I started seeing the retro-futuristic vibe that they were going with in these trailers, it really painted a picture for what I thought could be something fantastic. But I'm also very aware Marvel isn't in their consistent quality state anymore, so I went in hoping this was at least enjoyable. Having seen the movie, you know what word I want to use to describe this. I'm gonna get into the good and I'm gonna get into the bad with the movie, but starting off with the good, by God, it was such a brilliant idea to set this movie on its own separate world. This alternate reality that they're in really sets it apart from so much of the MCU. Not only was director Matt Shakman able to create a very unique looking world, like I remember when the first photos were released of the futuristic New York, and I thought a little disappointing. I don't see that much futuristic stuff. Kind of looks like a regular buildings we have today. In the movie itself, this is a really awesome world. I love the aesthetic from the costumes, production design, and score. This movie is complemented so nicely by Michael Giacchino's score, which I think is probably one of the best scores Marvel's also put out in a long time for some of their main heroes. But the other thing this movie did brilliantly, we now live in an era where a lot of comic book movies just don't want to do the origin. And for the Fantastic Four, where their last 2 iterations spent an entire movie doing the origin, I love the first 5-7 minutes of this movie because it just tells you what you need to know, kind of recaps you, but also gives you clear insight to what the Fantastic Four have been doing, because we jump into this movie where they've already been saving the world and being the Fantastic Four for 4 years. Oh, I see what they did there. Oh heck, let me hit that 4 correctly though. You're throwing up 4s, you gotta do it the right way. But that really quick introduction into how the Fantastic Four got their powers, some of the villains they have fought along the way, it really put a big smile on my face and then let us have the runtime to do so much more. Because that's the other thing I found about this movie. It is very efficient with its runtime. While the first act, you are getting used to the pace because it is rapid, it is just throwing you into this world. Once you start getting used to that pace, there is not a minute wasted, and it's all used to just keep the momentum going. This story was just flowing and had me on the edge of my seat a lot. Once our heroes find out about Galactus, and you've seen the footage where they have to go talk to him, the entirety of the sequence involving the Fantastic Four going out to space until they return back to their planet, whoa, dude, some of the best stuff Marvel has done in a very long time. The entire space sequence is thrilling, so suspenseful, and instantly makes you fall in love with the dynamic of these Fantastic Four members. I am wanting to see the movie again just for those 10 minutes of them in space and everything that went down, because it is my favorite part of this film. But talking about those dynamics, let's get on to the team members of the main 4. So I even had my doubts on somebody like Pedro Pascal when he was cast as Reed Richards. Reed is my favorite of the Fantastic Four members. That's always been the case, mainly because I just really think stretchy powers are cool. And although I like Pedro Pascal, I was kind of like, oh, that would not have been my first choice for that role, but all right, I'll see how he does. Absolutely nails it. I think anybody who was a doubter or an extreme hater of Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards, you're gonna have your mouth silenced. This guy has impressive range. He does such a good job as Reed Richards and is given a lot of great moments like the rest of the team. Every member has their moment to shine, but the Reed Richards stuff in this movie, I really enjoyed. Pedro pulls off the intelligent, worrying, but also leader aspect of this team so good. I don't see how after watching this movie, you still come out going, I don't buy him as Reed Richards. Like, if you're still thinking that after the movie, you just had your mind set and you were never going to give him a chance. The other standout of the movie is Vanessa Kirby. I remember early on, we were hearing reports that maybe she would kind of be the main character of the movie, or a lot of the movie would be seen through her. While I still think it's very clear Reed is the leader and is given a lot to do, Sue Storm shines for completely different reasons that really made her such a more fleshed out character than in other iterations. She's not this diva in distress or this item that's just used for a love triangle affair. If you've seen some of the trailers and things they've released, you know what Galactus wants in this movie, and the thing that Galactus wants is extremely personal to Sue and the rest of the team. And the movie's really able to play on a mother's love, how far a parent will go to keep their child safe. And it was a lot of those moments that created really good conflict between her and Reed, but also made you root for her so badly throughout this movie. I thought they did an amazing job with the Invisible Woman stuff. We can get on to the other two members, starting off with Ben Grimm. Eben Moss, I think, embodies the thing very well. CG has definitely gotten to such a good point where you can elicit those emotional reactions without going, I don't buy it. The CGI feels off on his face. No, every emotion with the thing is conveyed really well. I will just say, though, I feel like out of all four members, he gets the least to do. They touch upon a little bit of things, with the thing feeling slightly disconnected with reality because of the way he looks. A very small subplot on a love interest he has, but with everything else going on in this movie, it felt like stuff that maybe they'd rather build up on in other movies. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because you didn't want to overstuff this film with too much going on. When it comes to Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, another casting choice I was slightly iffy on, or I just didn't know how I would feel about, and sold me. This is a very different Johnny Storm. He's got the hothead persona, is the wild one of the group, the slightly immature, but that isn't the entirety of his character. They give him something really interesting to do in this movie, and I thought that was just such a great choice for him. It made him seem like an actual reliable or useful member of the team outside of his powers. He was also able to provide a lot of the funny moments in the film, specifically when it comes to hitting on the Silver Surfer. But heck, I mean, even on that point, this is probably one of the best tonally balanced MCU films in a really long time. What I mean by that is, this is a mainly serious, dark movie. From the moment we find out that this world has been marked for death and the Fantastic Four are trying to figure out how to stop it, you are on this sense of dread. You're losing all hope, and you feel the pressure on the team to try and figure out how to defeat Galactus. And that entire journey, I love, mainly because the stakes were felt. One, because this is a separate Earth, not the MCU, so you're not just like, they're gonna figure it out and everything will be fine, because, hey, we got other movies in this universe, so let's wrap it up, Fantastic Four. This is a whole Earth. You don't know what happens to this planet by the end, and you are guessing to the last minute, are they gonna live? Are they gonna get destroyed? But you were able to like sit and breathe into that seriousness that this movie was providing, because every other moment was not undermined with a joke. Marvel, please take notes from this movie. There's plenty of funniest stuff that happens, and moments where some dark stuff gets lined up with humor, and it fits so good. I mentioned with Johnny Storm, but also Herbie the robot. I love this little freaking robot, and if they ever sell actual replicas of this thing, I'm getting one, man. And the dynamic within the team, they have little moments that make you smile, but I'm so glad they let the film be serious, not let it be a comedy fest, and actually just let the plot speak for itself. When getting on to Galactus and the Silver Surfer, the antagonist of this movie, I think Shala Ball, played by Julia Gardner, really good stuff. Not only the effects on her look really amazing, but she's given a lot of sequences where her version of the Silver Surfer is very threatening. But speaking of giant threats, Galactus, the thing that was done so well. Matt Shockman films Galactus in such an epic grand way where just his size alone makes you feel like all hope is lost. I love the design of this Galactus, the voice Ralph Fiennes has, and I saw this in IMAX, so anytime Galactus was speaking, seat was just a vibrating. And while I think some people might want more Galactus, I feel like he was used just enough in the movie, and it's also such a great villain that you feel the struggle throughout the movie on how hard the Fantastic Four are trying to get rid of this problem. So yes, we've come a long way from him being just a giant fart cloud. So I'm obviously buzzing. And yeah, this is easily the best Fantastic Four movie ever made. I know the bar wasn't that high, but if I have to look on the other side on things I'm negative to mixed about in this movie, I think the biggest issue I'm gonna have with it is its visual effects. For every shot, mainly when you're looking at like Galactus or the Silver Surfer, it feels like that's where all the money went, because they end up looking flawless in the movie. Anytime those characters are on screen, you can tell money was put in. For every beautiful, gorgeous shot like that, there is also an equally, really jarring bad CG shot. Most of it happens thanks to Baby Franklin, and I'm guessing this was just Marvel's way to get around some of the laws involving infants on movie sets, because they're only allowed for a certain amount of time. Then sometimes you get fully CGI baby. Never a recipe for a good thing. But there's also a handful of wonky shots with like the Thing, or even them just standing in place. Some that like stick out like a sore thumb when a lot of the movie looks really good. The next couple are very minor nitpicks and probably only apply to myself. I do wish we got more unique uses of Reed Richards' powers. That's probably the only negative I have with Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards, but that's not his fault. I loved in some of the early movies when Reed got weird with his powers, you know, shape-shifting into like a water slide, becoming a blanket over Doom. I wouldn't say there's that much uniqueness with this Reed. While the effects on him using his powers are fun and there's plenty of stretchy action, it's the most basic arm long, leg long. That's about. I just want a little bit more uniqueness into these abilities, but I could see how someone even looks at that as a positive, because the movie is so focused on its story and what's going on. There's long periods of time, there's not very many action scenes. It's a lot of the team just sitting in a room going, how do we defeat this guy, man? And believe it or not, those scenes are very riveting, although it's not involving the use of their powers or them fighting something. I was mentioning again how the Thing really doesn't have much of his own story. We just get little tastes of it. Ben being a very popular character, I know that's just something that's gonna bother people, but really, that's about it. I am very happy with this Fantastic Four. If these guys have a future in the MCU, I want to see so many more stories with this group, their dynamic, and whoever else they can fight. I know they're going to be coming up in Avengers Doomsday, and Marvel has done it. They've made such interesting versions of these characters. I can't wait to see them interact with other heroes already established in the world. And you know, a lot of people are going to be saying, yeah, Marvel's back, when it's like, didn't y'all guys just say this about Thunderbolts? Even comparing it to that, I really like Thunderbolts, and I thought that was a really good movie, but even then, I wasn't as high on it as other people, because while I like the characters, I also loved the serious, darker tone they were paying light to in that movie when it comes to self-worth. A lot of other factors and issues I had with it when it came to pacing, ending up feeling like set up for another movie just to connect to the overall larger universe. Tons of other issues that I think just Fantastic Four doesn't have. And all around, Fantastic Four is a much more solid movie when it comes to the performances, the characters, the story, the production design, the score. Like, this is a movie that it's like, this is Marvel at their best. Thunderbolts was just finally a good movie after so many mediocre ones. This is an excellent movie. So when it comes to the Fantastic Four, I'm gonna give action 3.5 stars. There are spaces in between the action sequences, but I thought the spacing was very well done, super thrilling, and the Galactus battle at the end is really fun also. Comedy in the movie, 2.5 stars. I love the use of humor in this film. It's just the right amount to keep it lighthearted, make you feel like you're still kind of having fun with this without taking away from the serious story. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really love the way they handled this story. In the end, it's kind of a simple one. Galactus just wants something, and the Fantastic Four have to figure out how to not give him that something. But it's almost that simplicity that made it so easy to understand why the team is under a lot of pressure. Having them come together as a family is really good use of the story in here. Suspense the movie, I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I think this was the major benefit of setting this movie on a separate world. I was on the edge of my seat a lot. I don't know what was going to happen to this planet. The Surfer and Galactus are also such threatening, powerful beings. You do feel like the Fantastic Four have met their match. It was very good at having me locked in throughout. And horror in the movie, I'm gonna give 1 star just for Galactus. He's a frightening dude in this movie, and I'm glad Marvel was finally able to do him in some capacity. When it comes to the 3 C's, I think honestly, all 3 type of moviegoers will get huge enjoyment out of this one. Whether you're a casual just jumping in and don't even know any background MCU knowledge, that's fine. Don't need it for this one. Cinephiles are gonna love just the grand epic feel of a lot of the space sequences, Galactus, Silver Surfer. And critics, I think, are gonna be very kind to the use of the story and how well the character dynamics benefit the overall movie. Plus just the compliments of the production design and amazing score. So I don't know, I've been debating where this will end on my final rating scale, and I'm just gonna go with my gut feeling on this. I think the Fantastic Four deserves the 3C guarantee. That is just how happy I walked away with this movie, and I cannot wait to go see it again. It is so nice to see Marvel and DC currently thriving and them having just put out 2 awesome comic book movies. I can't wait to talk spoilers, and there are 2 post-credit scenes. First one in the mid-credits, that is the important one, and there is one at the end that's more of a fun one, but I do actually recommend staying for. Let me know if you got around seeing Fantastic Four, what you thought of the movie when you went to go see it. Anything and everything, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.